If you've been following UFC for a while now, you know there's nothing sweeter to the eyes than a brutal knockout in the octagon. Talking about knockouts, the UFC has seen many big names come and go. However, it seems Paddy Pimblett's here to stay. Buckle up for this roller coaster ride because today's video is all about Paddy Pimblett's top 5 brutal knockouts. First up, Jack Drabble's TKO. Before we start off with the main thing, it's important to spell out here that although Paddy's started getting recognition in the mainstream just now, he's been active professionally in the mixed martial arts world since 2012. And if you ask us, fights from his earlier days are just as amazing as he is today with his fists. Anyway, his fight with Jack Drabble would always be remembered in his career for 2 reasons. Firstly, for the technical knockout, and secondly for the fact that it was brought upon Drabble in a really short time. Paddy Pimblett was pitched against Jack Drabble back in June 2013 in the Olympian Mixed Martial Arts Championship 17 in London. The two were worthy opponents for each other, with Paddy being strong in defense and Jack known for his explosive fighting style. However, what happened in the cage took everyone by surprise, because Paddy, also known as the Baddie in the MMA world, came out to be one badass fighter. As soon as the fight started off, Paddy overpowered Jack and took him down with his explosive kicks and punches. The fight lasted only 21 seconds, which must have seemed like hell to Jack. Paddy won the fight with a technical knockout after throwing some fast punches at his opponent. For a fighter in his sophomore year whose strength was his defense, the TKO proved to be astonishing, and the result ended up making waves in the whole MMA world. Number 2, Stephen Martin's TKO. Paddy's fight against the English fighter Stephen Martin was one remarkable fight because the two seemed at par with each other. Stephen was coming off a loss against Andre Winner in May of 2014 when he pitched against Paddy a few months later. On the other hand, Paddy was coming off with a spectacular record of 7-1, having lost only against Cameron Else. He had a psychological advantage over Stephen for having bagged a victory in his last 2 fights. The fight was scheduled during the Cage Warriors Fighting Championship 73 in November 2014. The temperature was high right from the start of the fight, with both fighters trying to get their opponent on the ground. However, none quite succeeded. Stephen managed to hold his end rather impressively against Paddy's persistent attempts to take him down. Not only did he manage to hold his end, he also landed a few explosive hits on Paddy. The struggle continued for about 4.5 minutes. Ultimately, Paddy proved that he wasn't nicknamed Baddie for nothing. He was able to overcome Stephen, who took some really hard hits to his body. Eventually, the fight was stopped by the doctor and the referee called it a technical knockout when it became apparent that Stephen was in no condition to take more of that punishment being inflicted on him by Paddy. Number 3, Johnny Fraisie's TKO. Paddy finally got his title fight against Johnny Fraisie during the Cage Warriors 78 in September 2016 for the featherweight championship. Paddy had established himself as a force to be reckoned with at that time. His stats reflected 12 wins against only 1 loss. For the match against Johnny, Paddy was coming off 7 straight wins. On the other hand, Johnny walked into the fight off a loss against Nogueira during their fight in March 2016. On September 10, 2016, the day of the fight, both fighters walked into the cage under the enthusiastic outcries of their fans. The venue in Liverpool was full of unprecedented energy, being a title fight. Although Paddy was the fan favorite for the win fighting at home, Johnny came into the arena with a lot of experience and a shining championship belt. As soon as the referee ordered the fight to start, the two fighters rammed into each other like 2 wild beasts. Initially, it seemed that Johnny might be able to snatch the title from Paddy's hands. However, Paddy was just waiting for the right time to strike. It came not long after the start of the match when Johnny gave an opening for Paddy to strike. Showcasing spectacular skill, Paddy landed a few hits on Johnny's body that caused him to go on the defensive. However, Paddy followed those hits up with explosive punches on Johnny's face, which made him helpless. Ultimately, the referee intervened and ended the fight, calling it a technical knockout. What's more interesting is that Johnny didn't set foot in the arena after that fight in 2016. Not only did Paddy snatch the championship off his hands, but he also did so with a technical knockout, making it clear to the whole world that he's in the business for glory. Afterwards, Paddy defended his title against 2 other fighters and finally lost it in his 3rd title fight against Soren Bach, who was declared victor via unanimous decision. Number 4, Dougie Dalton's TKO. Dougie Dalton, known widely by his nickname The Diamond for his strong and airtight defense, was pitched against Baddie in March 2020 during the Cage Warriors 113. The experts speculated the fight against Dougie to be a chance for Paddy to build himself up again after having lost the title to Soren Bach via a unanimous decision a while back. Anyway, while Paddy was coming off a loss himself, Dougie also lost his last fight against Zane during the Brave CF13. Nevertheless, Dougie appeared to be outside his familiar waters because Paddy was his 2nd fighter ever. On the other hand, Paddy had been in the arena over 18 times. It seemed that Paddy Paddy would destroy his opponent, and that's exactly what happened in the cage when the two fighters came across each other. The fight, scheduled in Manchester, started off with both fighters treading cautiously. Gradually, Paddy started to come out as an unstoppable force in the cage, landing deadly strikes on Dalton's body. Over 2 minutes into the fight, Paddy went berserk and attacked Dalton without holding anything back. The brutal hitting ultimately wore Dalton down, who found himself on the ground. Paddy swiftly embraced the opportunity and followed up with explosive punches to Dalton's face and head. Eventually, the referee stopped the fight, declaring a technical knockout and Paddy the winner. Although the matchup wasn't that worth remembering, however, the way Pimblett fought in the cage is the reason that we've included this knockout in our video. It really felt as if Paddy wanted someone to punish and let out all that anger from his previous loss. Number 5. Luigi Vendramini's KO. Paddy's most dramatic and epic knockout came in his fight against Luigi Vendramini. The 26-year-old Brazilian mixed martial artist had amassed impressive stats, boasting 9 wins and only 2 losses during his career. Nicknamed the Italian Stallion, Luigi had an impressive reputation as a fighter. While Paddy was coming off 2 wins, Luigi picked himself to fight against him only months after his last fight with Ziam, which ended in a loss. Nevertheless, Luigi still appeared as if he was stepping inside the cage only for a victory and nothing less. Before the fight, the stare-down proved to be an intense affair, hinting at the brutality of the upcoming fight. The Stallion was ultimately pitted against Paddy on September 4, 2021 during the UFC Fight Night, Brunson vs. Till. The fight was incredible. From the get-go, both fighters made it pretty clear that they'd leave no stones unturned to establish their dominance over the other one. Paddy tried to push Luigi into a corner, however he skillfully extracted himself out of there. The exchange of hits continued for at least 4 minutes, with Paddy making full use of his agile kicks, some of which also found their way to Luigi's head. However, nothing proved enough to rattle the Brazilian. 4 minutes into the fight, it seemed that Paddy was the dominant force in the cage when suddenly Luigi landed a sick jab on Paddy's face and not long after forced him to the ground. Paddy skillfully extracted himself out of that dangerous situation, withstanding the brutal beating. Afterwards, Paddy appeared to be a bit tired, with Luigi landing frequent and explosive hits on his body. Nevertheless, Paddy mounted a swift attack, exchanging punches with Luigi when 2 of those right-handed jabs found their way to Luigi's face, forcing him to go down like a sack. The knockout, in addition to being Paddy's latest, also proved to be the most brutal because of how the match progressed. To the onlookers, it seemed as if Paddy was about to lose, since he seemed tired when his opponent was still landing hard hits. Moreover, not only did he manage to land those final explosive hits on Luigi's face, he did so while sustaining a few mean punches himself. Finally, it's the way Luigi hit the cage wall that made the KO all the more brutal and a treat for the eyes. That's a wrap for this video. Which of these brutal knockouts by Paddy Pimblett is your favorite? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.